What's up, guys? It's Danny from the Lassercast, and it is almost Thanksgiving, so Pete and I are getting to that point in the year where we are trying to round up our picks for the movies that are going to be on our top 10 horror movie lists of the year. We did a huge best of 2020 list at the beginning of this year, so we're already thinking of what are the best horror movies of 2021. And I wanted to talk a little bit tonight about a specific movie that I just saw, an absolutely crazy movie that I'm going to be thinking about for a very long time, called Titane, a movie out of France. Please watch foreign horror films. That's my little go-to line at the beginning. If you can read, you can enjoy foreign horror. We believe in you. Before we get started, two things. Just want to give a very special one-day belated birthday to the great Tom Atkins, rocking my Fright Rags Night of the Creep shirt. Thrill me. One of the best horror actors from the 80s. We love him. Darcy loves him on The Last Drive-In. Get him on that show. Come on. Happy birthday, Tom Atkins. Secondly, go to our channel. Give us a subscribe. Pete has a great interview up with the author Philip Fracassi, and we have reviews of Chucky and Behind the Monsters every single week, and we have a lot more fun stuff coming up for you this month and every week. So give our video a subscribe and let us know what you think about our videos in the comments. Let's talk about Titane. I mean, this is like the mind blow movie of 2021. Back in 2016, writer-director, I'm going to try to pronounce her name right, but I'm not French, so I apologize in advance. But writer-director Julia Ducournau directed a movie called Raw, and it lived up to that name. This movie was one of the best first-time director films. You know, it's really easy to go, oh, you know, women in horror. It's, you know, one of the best movies by a female director. No, this movie was great by any director. And for a first-time director, it was even better. This movie was insane about a girl who goes to veterinary school. She's a vegetarian. She's forced to try meat for the first time, and it basically turns her into kind of a cannibal, and it's just bloody and sick and sexual. And for 5 years, we all wondered, what is this woman's next movie going to be? And holy shit, it's Titane. Julia Ducournau outdoes herself in this movie. I'm going to give light spoilers, kind of like a plot description for the film. I'm going to try not to go too deep into spoilers because I really want you to watch this and get your mind blown the way mine was blown as I watched this. Let me tell you straight off, this movie is available on VOD to purchase and to rent. I rented it on Vudu for about $6-7. And yeah, you get your money's worth. My only regret, to be honest, is this movie was playing in a theater about 25-30 minutes from my house, and I just couldn't find the perfect time to go, so I missed seeing it in theaters. Yeah, if you have a shot, see this movie in theaters. It is worth it. I brought up Raw at the beginning. This movie, Julia Ducournau basically brings her entire crew over from Raw to work with her again. The music in this movie is great, and it's the same original music. I believe his name was Jim Williams, who does the music. One of her writing consultants, Jean-Christopher Bouzy, again, I'm sorry about these French names, I apologize. He is also the editor for this movie, and he edited Raw. And if you just go on IMDb and you click on every member of the crew, most of them worked on Raw. And you're going to get the same feel and the same style of movie that you did there, except yeah, this movie, it hits it up to another level. So let's talk about plot. So I am going to get into very little spoilers. If you don't want to know anything about this movie, go check it out and then come back, watch our review, leave a comment, let me know what you thought. Basically, you have this young girl named Alexia, very young girl, and her father's driving, and she's being an annoying passenger. She's making noise. He's raising the music. She's trying to hum louder than the music. He raises the volume up to the highest. She starts making noise. She undoes her seatbelt to turn around and stare out the window. He overreacts, turns around to grab her. The car swings out, big crash, and she's left with a traumatic head injury, requiring a titanium plate being put into her head, which we see in some real graphic detail. We then fast forward, and now Alexia is older. We're assuming she's in her early 20s, and she's played by Agatha Roussel. I looked her up on IMDb, and she has not really done anything before this. And holy hell, if there is any justice in the world, there's not. I know. She would get an Oscar nomination for this. I can't imagine what a brave performance this is. Especially for somebody who's not an actor or an actress who's been around for a long time. Come on. The cats are making noise. Agatha Roussel. I mean, my goodness, what a performance. She's basically, we come in on what looks like an underground scene from a Fast and the Furious movie. There's all these like exotic cars. Basically, when Alexia was younger, after the accident, she developed, I got the thing the cat was playing with. She developed a kind of weird psychosexual attraction to cars. And the fact that she smashed her head and her brain into the car makes it that much weirder and wilder. She gets older, and it's like Fast and the Furious. There's all this like this underground exotic car show where they have these women dancing on and near the cars, and she has a basically an almost stripper dance type performance on this car. This is an incredibly both sexy movie and at the same time disgusting movie. It's just like Raw. Raw was filled with sexuality, but you're watching it and you're going, I think I'm attracted to what I'm looking at, but at the same time I'm grossed out and I don't know what, and your head is just spiraling out of control. The fact that I'm talking about sexuality and being attracted to the cars automatically brought me to thinking of Crash by David Cronenberg, an absolutely crazy movie in its own right that came out, I believe, in the mid-1990s with James Spader and Holly Hunter. That I got those vibes right away. She's a very sexual person, Alexia, and she seems like she's forming this relationship with this woman, Justine, played by Garance Marillier, again, sorry for the pronunciation, who was Justine in Raw, the main character. So she's in this movie, but all the sexuality, all the attractiveness has to do with the metal that's, let's put it this way, she has a nipple ring. She seems much more attracted to the ring part than she does any part of Justine's body, Alexia. And eventually, Alexia becomes violent when she's faced with issues, when she's faced with put into very strange situations, or situations where she feels uncomfortable. This guy follows her out of the car dancing part, telling her he loves her and he wants to be with her, and he tries to kind of force himself on her, and she pulls out the almost like the chopstick that she has in her hair, and she just stabs and kills this guy. And without going too deep into, she eventually ends up on this borderline killing spree, which requires her to disappear and get off the grid. And while she's trying to run away and find a place to go from her crime spree, she sees a story on the news about a young boy who disappeared years ago named Adrian. And she decides to disguise herself. She cuts her hair. There's this awful scene in a bathroom where she's trying to break her own nose that is just so hard to watch. She covers herself up in tape to cover her breasts and her now expanding midsection, because there is a pregnancy of sorts, and she ends up disguising herself as this lost child named Adrian. And she's recovered by Adrian's father, played by Vincent Lindon. Character's name is Vincent, who's a fire chief. And it's one of those situations where, in almost like a Boys Don't Cry moment, where you have a female dressed as a male disguising their sexual orientation to the people around them. But he is his own wacky character, and there's so much weirdness to their relationship. There's a tension that's both sexual and romantic, and also somehow loving and familial. It's all so weird. And at the same time, Alexia, now portraying Adrian, is going through this horrible body transformation. There is a level of body horror in this movie. This is not your traditional horror movie. This is at times there's a lot of drama. At times there's a lot of like almost romance and family drama. And then there's like violent crime spree, serial killer stuff. But at its core, this is a body horror movie. And kind of like Raw, it's a subversive body horror movie. And it gave me, when you combine the body horror and just the raw sexuality of the film, and almost this like sex, but in a pardon the pun, like a naughty way, but then like a really naughty way, it gave me vibes of Hellraiser. And going back to Cronenberg, The Fly, along with Crash, where you're watching something that's supposed to be sexy and beautiful, but there's a level of just grossness to it, and you end up watching it with this face on and occasionally going like this, and you won't even believe the places that this movie goes. Did I love this movie? No. Is this a movie that needs to be experienced? Absolutely. It's definitely going to be in my top 10 horror of 2021, just because it's one of those few movies that evokes just pure natural emotion, and like a guttural, visceral feeling from you as you watch it. And I appreciate any movie that does that. I'll give you an example. The movie Mother, Darren Aronofsky's Mother. I didn't love that movie. I probably will never watch it again. But when I saw that movie in the movie theater, people got so angry that they threw food and drinks at a theater screen. I had never seen that before in my life. And I was like, hey, I got to give them some credit for that. If you can evoke that type of emotion. Now, this is a much better movie than Mother. And like I said, there's levels of beauty and sexuality to this movie, and just nasty violence and some gore and bloodshed and nudity. It's all there. And there's body horror. Look, if I'm telling you that it reminds me of Hellraiser, The Fly, and Crash, you know what you're getting into. If you've seen Raw, the 2016 film by Julia Ducournau, you know what you're getting into. I cannot recommend this movie enough. I want other people to see it. I want you to tell me what you thought of it. Let me know what you thought in the comments. And if there's any other wacko horror movies that you've seen in 2021 that blew your mind, tell me what they are in the comments so that I can check them out if I haven't already. Always looking for some crazy ass horror movies, especially foreign films, because foreign films, this is a movie, and this is why I always stress, go watch foreign films, especially foreign horror, because foreign horror gets to do shit like this that they would never get away with in America. This is Gaspar Noé levels of psychoticness, the levels of violence and nudity together this would never get made in America. Not even close. Unless it's somebody like a Cronenberg who has a 30+ year, almost 40-year reputation for doing that kind of out there type of body horror, who might be able to get away with something like this. But yeah, watch foreign horror films, watch Titane. I rented it on Vudu. You check it out too. And stay tuned for more cool stuff coming up very soon on the Lasercast.